We've lost the ability to serve society. We've lost the ability to serve each other. The prime minister calls for national service, and literally the whole country erupts and says, "Are you trying not to get reelected?"
What did you think of that?
I thought it was brilliant. I do believe in service. It doesn't have to be military service. When we say national service, go be a teacher in the inner city for a year. Go work on a 1 day a month in a hospital. Go work for 1 weekend, 1 day per month in hospice and palliative care, right? Serve other human beings who are underserved or forgotten. Serve your nation in some way, shape, or form. Let the government give you a list of 20 or 30 options of things you can do, and say that if you do these things, it makes you eligible for, scholarships, it makes you eligible for whatever, I'm a great believer in it. Just like you can get, at least in the United States, very, very generous packages for education if you serve in the military. Give very generous packages for education if you do any of these other things. Teaching, we have problems, we're losing teachers. Okay, well, we can fill those gaps.
Do you think that would help our society at large over the coming years?
Because I think the skills that people learn when they serve, they learn hard work, but they learn to be a part of something larger than themselves. And you talk to anybody who goes off and does volunteer work or takes a gap year where they go and do service, or anyone who's gone to combat, right? And if you talk to soldiers or Marines who've been in the shit, none of them want to go to combat. It's not fun. There's very, very, very few combat-related suicides. In other words, suicides don't happen in a combat situation. They happen when they come back home, right? And they all weirdly have warm feelings about their time in combat. And it's not the shooting and the fear. It's the intense responsibility and awesome feeling to be there to look after each other. Not just to feel looked after, but to look after another. I talked to Navy SEALs and I talked to SEAL Team 6. And I wanted to understand the why of the SEAL teams. This is one of the highest performing organizations on the planet, right? And you think it's going to be about brawn and courage and all the stupid things that the outside world thinks that the commandos and the special operators have. It's actually not that at all, which is they care for each other more than others think possible. It's their love of each other that makes them special operators. And their courage doesn't come from raw courage. I've talked to many SEALs and special operators about this. They don't have just raw courage to run into danger and all of this stuff. It's that they fear letting down their comrades more than dying. And we saw it happen recently where a SEAL mission, one of the SEALs fell into the water and another SEAL dived in to catch him and they both died, right? They fear letting each other down more than dying. That cannot be described anything else. There's no other word to capture that feeling than love. That is love at a level that few of us will ever understand. And that love is so deep that a lot of them have failed marriages because when their wives say to them, it's either me or your fellow SEALs, they choose their fellow SEAls. That's love. That's love. And even in my world, like you and I have colleagues and coworkers. In the military, they have brothers and sisters. Those relationships are real. And I remember the first time a friend of mine in uniform called me brother. We're on the phone, and he said, "Hey, brother." It was the first time he called me brother, and I felt it. That you don't use that term loosely. It's not just a generic term of endearment. You earn to be called brother or sister. Mm-hmm. And I remember when he called me brother that it meant something. And this friend of mine, he's still active duty. He's a combat hero. He's risked his life. He's put himself in harm's way. He's saved the lives of people. He's an absolute warrior, right? He is by any definition a frickin' badass fucking warrior, right? And he was the first man who said to me, "I love you." We got off the phone. He goes, we just saying goodbye to each other. We had a nice long conversation. We got off the phone and he goes, "I love you." He didn't say, "Love ya." He didn't say, "Love you." He said, "I love you." That's real. And we hedge because we're afraid of our emotions. We're afraid of expressing ourselves to each other. We say things like that. We say, love ya, even love you. Say those 3 words to somebody. They are excruciatingly difficult unless you actually mean it. I love you. And it was so powerful that now every time he and I talk, and we talk politics and we talk global stuff and we talk leadership, we have, and then at the end of our calls, I'll say, all right, I'll talk to you real soon. I love you. He goes, I love you too. That's how we end our phone calls. And I started experimenting. I started saying those words to especially the men in my life that I love and care about desperately, my male friends. It's easier to say to a woman, there's less of a stigma, right? And some of my guy friends who are, if you met them, you would describe them as not very warm. You would describe them as distant or cold or guarded. And they are. And I remember taking the risk saying to them when we got off the phone or when I said goodbye to them when I was hanging out with them, I said, I love you. And in very short order, they started saying it back. And we would hug differently. And we would kiss each other on the cheek. And like one of my friends he's a cold guy. He's not warm. He's lovely and smart and fantastic and funny, but he's not warm. It took him a long time. And I always said it to him. I love you. I love you. And he goes, yeah, huh? Okay. And I would like hug him and kiss him on the cheek goodbye. He's like, okay. And then he started saying, I love you back. And this is what I've learned from the highest performing teams on the planet. This is what I've learned from people who understand service, that you cannot have service without developing some sort of love. And so I think to go all the way back to the question from that kid in the front row, how do I make friends? You can't make a friend until you learn how to serve. Because friendship is fundamentally service. Friendship is an act of service. And if you don't know the skill of service, then you probably don't know how to be a friend, let alone make a friend. I think you have to learn to be a friend before you can make a friend. Because people only want to be your friend if you know how to be their friend, right? Which is not like having fun, which is not like going out and get pissed with your mates. That's fun. Those are mates. Are those friends that you love? Maybe, sometimes. Sometimes there's overlap. That's the other problem. And I live in America where you meet somebody once and they call you friend. And the problem is I think we overuse the word friend, right? Like if you have a mild melanoma and you have stage 4 liver cancer, we call both those things cancer. Clearly they're not the same thing. And I think we have the same problem with the word friend. Like somebody you hang out with casually, it's a laugh, we call that person friend. But then somebody who we have deep love for and we would be there for them no matter what, we call that person friend. Best friend doesn't seem to capture it either. And so I think we need more words. Like I've started using the word acquaintance. I've started using the word work friend or deal friend. That's in finance, right? I like them. I get along with them. I enjoy them. But if we weren't working, if our companies weren't working together, would I hang out with them as much? Probably not. Probably would make less of an effort, right?
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.